Years ago, I worked at the Russian tea room in New York as a consultant. I have a lot of friends, Russian or Russian emigre and in New York, but I get really interested in Russian cooking and in Russian taste, which is a bit different than what we do. And that menu today is inspired by the Russian taste that my friend and I have enjoyed at the Russian tea room or at home. And what we have, it's a very easy recipe. We're going to start today with a chicken in coriander sauce. The Russians use a lot of coriander. And when I'm talking about coriander, which I have here, I'm talking often what is called cilantro, or Japanese parsley, or Chinese parsley, or culantro, or coriander in French. And all of that is the same. First, you have the tiny seed that we use in pastrami mixture. Those tiny seeds have a special taste. When you put them in the ground, what grows out of it is this. And what we're going to do is to actually use the bottom part of it, the stem, to cook in the dish and use some of the cilantro, the leaf, to put on top. Now, I'm taking the skin. Here we have just plain chicken thigh, and of course, when you remove the skin, you remove basically 3/4 of the calorie. And that's very important because in that recipe, conventionally, the Russian type of dishes are quite fatty, and this we're going to do a very light dish with that. So what we want to do is to start browning this, on one side. I have a little bit of olive oil in the bottom here, and it should be, to brown properly, it should really be in one layer. Works much better, This is what I'm going to do here. So flat start, and on this side here, I'm going to start a skillet. I have a tablespoon of oil and a tablespoon of butter. This is going to be the garnish for the chicken, and that's going to be zucchini. So let that brown for a little while. I may even put a bit of pepper. I didn't put pepper in it. Cracked pepper is good. Okay, and we'll come back here. And I have zucchini here. I have some shallots, and some are already cut, and I want to show you how to use that strange-looking piece of equipment that we call a mandoline in French. You have a leg which you put on this side. You cannot put it on this side because there is nothing here. There is a return here. Then there is those little teeth in the center so that you can cut it in different ways. Then there is the blade. So the blade has to be totally up in order for that thing to move back and forth here. We use that in professional kitchen, and frankly, what we use, you have a guard which comes on top of it so you don't cut yourself. So if you're not used to it, you should use the guard. Professionally, I don't use the guard. Keep my hand flat, because what we do here, we cut right through. See, that's a bit too thin, so I can lower it. This way, then I turn on the other side. Then in the back, the idea is to do the whole outside of your zucchini into those thin, long strips, so that you keep the cottony center, which is soft and all that, you don't want to use. So this is what we do. If I want to weight that, I bring that up and let that go and bring that blade level so that I don't feel anything here. I want to show you how to use this, but maybe with a potato. And what you can do here, cutting this way, if you twist your hand this way, one time this way, one time this way, you will end up with what we call a pomme gaufrette, a waffle potato. And this is the only instrument which does that. We use that for aperitif, in kitchen. What I have here is shallots, which is a type of red onion. We're going to saute the shallot for a few seconds into our skillet there, on this side. And with that, we'll put our zucchini on top. So those zucchini are very nice. They look like spaghetti, great for garnish. You can do a lot with it. I love zucchini, and zucchini are very inexpensive. Zucchini are fiber, very low in calorie, so it's a good thing to do. Now we're going to put those zucchini to saute here, and they saute pretty fast, This may be a dash of salt that I have here, and we're going to saute that here. Maybe I put a cover on top to make it a bit more moist so that the moisture will start cooking it. Now, what I want to do is to turn those chicken. Here they should be brown on one side. They could brown a bit more than that, but this is okay. Remember that I have no skin here on those chicken, as I say, and they are going to be much lower calorie than they would be with the skin, and also they're going to cook much, much faster. So what we have in those here, I have the coriander, and the coriander, you see, as I said before, we are going to use the stem of the coriander here into the dish, and onion. I already have a lot of onion chopped here. Just to show you, we're going to slice a bit of onion. So sliced onion, sliced garlic, you know, the garlic all clove like that, just slice them very thin. This way you can crush them if you want, but it's perfectly fine. That recipe will have much less than 30% fat into the dish itself, which is what we want to do within the recommended Surgeon General indication for dishes. So what we have here, we put that back there. The thigh, I like the thigh. You know, if you do breast of chicken, your timing is going to be different. So do only breast or do only thigh, because they are not going to cook in the same amount of time. We have a lot of onion here, the garlic, the coriander stem here, which will give it a lot of taste. We use that in Caribbean cooking also. My wife used coriander stem, you know, she freezes it and keep it. And we put the white wine in it. I have a nice fruity wine here. My chicken go right back on top of this. Cover it, and this will cook for 20-25 minutes. 15-20 minutes should be enough. During that time, let me look at the zucchini. The zucchini are browning nicely, as you can see here. And I have another chicken ready on this side, which I'm going to prepare. Put this one in the back. This is for our fish. And now I think we are going to finish preparing that chicken. The first thing that I'm going to do, if you want to serve it with it, is to place your zucchini on the outside. You see, when you place like a border on the outside, people try to arrange it directly on the outside. Put it right in the center, and from the center, push it on the outside. You don't have to worry whether the center is dirty, because you're going to cover it with something anyway. Okay, here it is. This one is there. Now we can serve our chicken right in the center of it. We have a lot of onion in it, as you see. And here we're serving 2 thigh per person, which is more than enough quite a nice portion, you know, within the context of a menu. And again, put your onion on top. And what we have to have in addition to this, a bit of the juice, the wine. See, it's very lean, nice looking. I want to put, of course, a little bit of the coriander top, which I didn't put here. That will go on top of my chicken. Here we have a lot of coriander in that menu here. And now what I'd like to do is to start my fish. So I'm going to do it in that skillet right here. And for this also we are going to use some coriander, so I'm going to keep it here for the time being. And I want to show you the fish that I'm going to use. I have a beautiful filet here of codfish. This is more of a lean cod that we have here. As you can see, it's a bit darker on the other side. But just the flesh, just the smell of it and all that, I know it's very fresh. There is a line of bone right in the center, so I would want to cut that here and on this side to remove that line of bone from the center. Okay, and then we cut that into pieces, about 5-6 ounce pieces. I have 4 pieces here that I'm going to put in there with, I need some onion in there, right? I'm putting some onion, sliced onion in the bottom. Onion, cabbage, coriander, sour cream, you know, that type of thing. Beets are used a great deal in Russian cuisine, you know. I mean, not that this is pure Russian, but at least an interpretation of what Russian cuisine is for me. So we have, again, some white wine here, the salt, my fillet of fish, which are going to cook directly in there. That's it. And then I want this to cook, depending on the thickness of the fillet, of course, but I want that to cook for 5 minutes. You know? And during that time, as you can see, I've used a lot of pot here. I went from one pot to the other. I want to discuss pot with you a little bit. And here, I have a whole array of different type of pot, different type of metal. When we discuss pot, we discuss the way the heat goes into the pot and transfer into the food, what we call heat transfer. For example, the best is going to be copper. The best is really silver, but now we have silver pot. But in any case, this is a thick, heavy layer of copper, and it's lined up with stainless steel inside, so it's very good because of that. Here, for example, I have a stainless steel, only stainless steel pan, with the bottom in aluminum, because the heat transfer of aluminum is better. If that pot was only in stainless steel thin, the heat would go underneath and I would have a black spot right there. No diffusion throughout the metal, so it's important. This is a cast iron pan. You get attached to it, you know, those pots, you have them forever, but they tend to discolorate food, you know, if you do sauces and all that, but they are very good to sear or do different things in it. This is an enamel cast iron, kind of Le Creuset, you know, type of pot that you can bring to your counter and serve directly in it. That's very good. This is plain aluminum. Aluminum is fine, but it will tend to discolorate in it. So what we do now, because aluminum is a good heat transfer in terms of thickness, but acid, any type of thing, white wine and all that will discolorate in it. So we have what is called here anodized aluminum. This is not a non-stick. It is a thing which appears in the surface of the metal through a technique that they have, which eventually wear out, but it is part of the metal. Here I have enameled. Enameled is very good. This is steel pot, which is enameled inside and outside. Great, it doesn't discolorate and all that. It has a good heat transfer. Finally, here I have an aluminum pan with non-stick inside, and this is very good because it's a permanent non-stick, you know, so it's not supposed to go and you're supposed to be able to use Brillo. But ultimately, this is your ultimate pot. It's riveted right through. I have thick, heavy copper, which gives me a fantastic heat transfer, stainless steel inside so that I have no discoloration. And now let's see if our fish is finished. Yeah, the fish should be about cooked now, and what I'm going to do is to remove it to do the sauce, and that cod is a bit soft. Remember that I have the reduction of wine, and the wine does have a certain amount of calorie, but on the other hand, this would be better. On the other hand, by the time you boil the wine, you know, most of the calorie goes with the boiling. You see, that recipe happened to be very low calorie. I have the garnish here, which is going to go into it. And the garnish here, I have capers, I have again coriander, I have fresh horseradish, you know, which I can grate here. It's very, very strong. Horseradish is very common in Russian cooking. So here I have the fresh one, and I can, of course, use the one in can. I have olive, and those are all cured with oil, you know, type of dry olive. All of that is going to go inside with a bit of sour cream. I have a quarter of a cup of sour cream here, which is 1 tablespoon per person. You know, a tablespoon of sour cream is 29 calories. Remember, we put no butter, we put no oil, nothing in it, so it is relatively very low calorie, you know. And I'm saying that because when people tend to see a sauce where I have cream in it, you know, then they start getting crazy. There is cream in it and they think they're going to fall dead, you know. So here I have the sauce. You know what I need here? I have too much evaporation. I'm going to put back a little bit of water. This is the water that I have from the coriander. Because what happens is that after you put your sour cream, you don't really want this to boil a lot. If it boils a lot, it's going to break down, you know. So put all of it together, season it. It's delicious. A little bit more pepper in it. And that sauce is ready to be served, you know, and we're going to serve it individually. Right here. I have a beautiful plate here, and as you can see, that plate already has some olives on top. So very often, you know, when you can have a piece of equipment, you know, which is going to bring together the dish, it makes it nice, you know. Those fillets are quite thick, you know, and actually they could be cooked for another minute or so. You don't want them to be overcooked, but you want them to be cooked. So what I have here is my garnish. Let me put some of the sauce on top, and some of the olive are going to fall around, you know. And we could even put a bit more coriander. Now remember, you may say, well, we have coriander all over the place here. We have coriander in the first course, in the main course. And yes, it's true, I love coriander, and that dinner is inspired, as I say, by that type of seasoning. If you don't like coriander, put the chives in it or put a bit of basil or whatever. But the recipe this way is great, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. And for our dessert today with our Russian menu, we're going to have a kissel. And the kissel, sometimes it's spelled K-I-S-S-E-L, sometimes with one S, is the classic Russian dessert, which is very simply made of any puree of fruit. It's very classic to have it with cranberry, as we have today. But very often there, any type of berry are used, usually a puree of red fruit. That's what they call a kissel. And that's what we're going to do here. This I'm going to put, those happen to be frozen. You know, you can use the fresh one, or the frozen one is going to work fine with this. We're going to put different type of ingredient with it. I have some cornstarch here that we're going to put in there also. And orange juice. The cornstarch is going to thicken, of course, the orange juice. Sugar, because it's quite acidic. And we put orange rind. There is different way of removing the orange rind. We have that zester here, which will do that type of job. You know, taking only the surface part of the skin, and that's what you want, because that's where you have the essential oil. Or then there is that part of that little thing which cuts strip like this, you know. Sometimes we cut the strip out, sometimes you leave it here to fold it back into an orange and do a decoration all around like this, you know, which look good too. And of course, the most common way is to use this. And you can, of course, grate that directly on top of this, but you can also put a piece of plastic directly on your grater and grate it like this. The plastic will go right through. You know, the plastic will go right through the teeth if you want. And it's easy because this way you just have to lift it up and you have all of your, or most of it here, that you can clean up with a knife and put with our cranberry. Okay, write that here. Now we're going to put that to cook. It has to boil for about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. It's going to thicken and so forth. And during that time, I want to talk to you a little bit about the garnish, you know. And I have different type of garnish here. Usually in the type of cooking we do, we try to keep it plain without too much fat. We lower the fat a great deal. We're going to serve that with a bit of yogurt. You may not know that yogurt that I have here, you see the thickness of it is a low-fat yogurt. It's about 10 calories a tablespoon, just like milk. Milk is 10 calories a tablespoon. The sour cream, however, there goes to 26 calories. By the time you get to light cream, it's about 30 calories. And heavy cream, 50 calories per tablespoon. However, I had a cup of heavy cream, which I whipped here, and I end up with 2 cups. So a cup of heavy cream whipped is going to be 25 calories. So if you use cream, whip it, that extend it, rather than just putting heavy cream on your berry. And just for your information, you should know that a tablespoon of butter is 108 calories, and a tablespoon of oil is 120, even higher. So this, has to be taken into consideration. And what we are going to do here is just serve a little bit of yogurt with our garnish here. I have another part here with those cranberry cooked, and as you see, they're getting nice bright red. We're going to put them into that bowl here. It's a very refreshing dessert, and as I say, very Russian. What you could do is to alternate with a little bit of your yogurt in the middle to give different color, especially if you have a beautiful glass as I have here. Although, as I say, you could very easily serve that plain. It needs sugar, remember, because this is extremely acidic. Now a little piece of mint on top of this. Here we are. And you have a nice dessert. You could have, if you want, even a tiny piece of pound cake or a couple of cookies, or conventionally it's served just plain like this, and it's excellent this way. And this is our classic Russian dessert, the kissel. Here we have our Russian table. Actually, the Russian table is called the zakuski table, zakuska or zakuski plural, which is a combination of all kind of different salad, cold, hors d'oeuvre, and so forth, and it's very classic, especially around the time of Easter, in Russia. A great deal of the cooking of Russia was codified in the 19th century by a lady by the name of Elena Molokovet. And the book has been actually translated in English now, which was a gift to a young housewife, which is the Mrs. Bitten that we have here, or La Cuisine de Tante Marie we have in France. Often those type of cuisine have been codified by women. We have an interesting menu today because the whole thing is less than 30% of fat, so we fall within the recommended Surgeon General recommendation. And as you see here, we have those esoteric, slightly esoteric, if you want, Russian ingredient, the coriander here, and we have the black olives, and of course the caper, and particularly that fresh horseradish here. You can use the bottled one, but believe me, the fresh one is great. It grows in your garden and grow year after year. So try to plant it in your garden. Then our fish, and as you see the fish here, which look very scrumptious with a big cream sauce and so forth, are in fact very, very little calorie. If I had grilled that fish, I would have needed probably about a tablespoon of oil to put on top to grill it, which would have been about 120 calories. Instead of that, all I have in it is 1 tablespoon of sour cream. That is, I have a quarter of a cup for 4 people. And a tablespoon of sour cream, as we say, is 29 calories. So this is a very deceptive dish and very low in calorie and quite flavorful. Of course, we have the chicken also, and in the chicken itself, we have removed the skin, which takes more than 50% the fat away. And we have a nice salad, of course, with our dish, and the famous kissel, and that kissel, which we did with cranberry, but could really be done any type of berry. And with that, we're going to serve a Gewürztraminer from the central coast of California. I think quite an unusual one because it's in the Alsatian style, that is in the style of the northeast part of France. Very fruity. Gewürz means spice in German, and Traminer is the type of grape. So the Gewürztraminer is very spicy but very dry, different than what is usually done here. And that type of spicy wine is going to be terrific with our menu today. Do it for your friend, be a bit esoteric, and try different things in your kitchen. I enjoy cooking it for you. Happy cooking.